All right, Shalom, Brother Kashakwala coming back at you with another lesson, giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, by Shem Chakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone, who rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. All right, so got this lesson geared up for you in the spirit. Just was going through the book. I've been reading on the book of Acts for a while now, just going back through it, rereading it, getting a better understanding of it or whatnot. And I was reading Acts, the 18th chapter, and just these two verses stuck out to me. Like, you can, when you read it, you can, and if say you want to do a lesson on it like I'm doing today, you can take so many avenues of where you want to take the lesson. And I just wanted to kind of bring these two verses to light and just, Lord willing, this edifying. All right. So this is Acts 18:5. It says, and when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the spirit and testified to the Jews that Yahushua was Hamashiach. And when they opposed themselves and blasphemed, he shook his raiment and said unto them, your blood be on your own heads. I am clean. From henceforth I will go into the Gentiles. So it's like, when I read that, I was like, man, there's ways you could take it. You read this, you can almost see a level of irritation from Paul. You could see, you can almost see like well, okay, if you don't want to get it, I know people who do type demeanor from Paul. I tried. You know how Jake be, where you try to tell him, hey, I try to tell you. You can see that. There's a lot of different things coming out from Paul. These two scripts kind of better show you what kind of man Paul was, you could say. So I'm going to reread Acts 18:5. And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the spirit. Exactly, he was pressed. You go into that word pressed, it means to compress. Matter of fact, let me pull it up real quick in the blue letter, just so we can get a full understanding of what Paul was going through. And you can say a spiritual, you can also say an emotional, because we're all in the flesh too, type light. In the Greek, it's sonikol, if I'm saying that correct. Let's see what Esau says.
Strong's G 4912, sunecho.
Sunecho, and that means to hold together. You're right. You see, like he was trying to hold himself together. It was kind of hard. He was pressed in the spirit. Now, when you're pressed in the spirit, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, actually, when you're pressed in the spirit, because the spirit, it wants you to release something. All right, it needs you to speak. It needs you to say something. You could almost say us men on a weekly basis, from Monday, well, from my camp perspective, from Sunday to Friday, we're pressed in the spirit. There's a lot of things that we go through and that we see on a day-to-day basis that we get pressed in the spirit. And then when the time for camp comes, it's a release, you see? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go to, just to back that point up, because I just thought about something. Second Ezra, the 14th chapter. All right. Just go all the way down to like verse 40. It says, Second Ezra 14:40. It says, I took it, Salakia. I'll get the whole matter. Verse 39, it says, then opened I my mouth, and behold, he reached me a full cup, which was full as it were with water, but the color of it was like fire. And I took it and drank. And when I had drunk of it, my heart uttered understanding, and wisdom grew in my breast. For my spirit strengthened my memory. Verse 41 is the point. And my mouth was open and shut no more. Okay? Verse 41 drives the point home, but verse 40 is a point as well, where it says, and wisdom grew in my breast. Whenever something grows, it swells to the point where it bursts open. Okay? And the bursting open part is verse 41, where he opened his mouth and it shut no more. With the wisdom that was swelling inside of him in the spirit, Ezra, as you can see right here, was pressed in the spirit. That's the same thing Paul was feeling. The spirit and the wisdom and the knowledge was all pressed inside of him, and it was growing within him to where it's going to burst and it's going to release. So when he was pressed in the spirit, that's a good indication that he was like, oh, I got to do this. Oh, he was yearning to do the work of the Lord through the spirit. The spirit was working with Paul. Straight up. Let's get the word compressed real quick, because when you go here, it says to hold together with constraint. Constraint means like strenuous, or it's kind of hard. You know what I'm saying? You can sometimes when you think of constraint, you think of like fighting, or he's trying to constrain him, or he's trying to hold him down, or something like that. And it says to compress. So we're gonna get that word compress real quick. The word compress is to press or pack. So the spirit was pressed and packed in him, closely together within him, to the point where he had to let it had to release somehow. You see what I'm saying? And our release is through our lip service, like it speaks about in the book of Hebrews. That's our form of worship to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, through our lip service. All right. It says force or drive into a smaller compass. It says force or drive. So something in Paul, which was the spirit, was telling him to like spit it out, man. You see? So again, it said, and when Silas and Timotheus were come together, and when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the spirit. All right? And he says it testified to the Jews that Yahushua was Hamashiach. Correct. So he testified. He had the testimony of Yahushua Hamashiach. How do we know he had the testimony of Yahushua Hamashiach? Well, you can jump back to Acts, the 9th chapter, when Yahushua, kicked them off the horse pretty much and say, hey, why are you kicking against the pricks? Like, what you doing, Paul? Why persecutest thou me? That was the testimony that Yahushua, that he received, and he knew who Yahushua was from thenceforth. Okay, so let's move on to verse 6. It says, and when they opposed themselves, who? The Jews, okay, which were the Israelites, okay, which were the Israelites. When they opposed themselves, let's get that word opposed. And also, too, it said the Jews, meaning the one who are in the know. They know they're Israelites. Paul, when you go into the, matter of fact, I love bringing this out because it always brings a point home in Galatians, the 2nd chapter. Let me go to Galatians 2nd chapter, start about like verse 6. All right, so Galatians 2 and 6, but of these who seem to be somewhat whatsoever they were, it maketh no matter to me. I always giggle at that part. The Most High accepted no man's person. For they who seemed to be somewhat in conference added nothing to me. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter. So Peter dealt with those Jews, those devout Jews that the scriptures always they always put the word devout in front of Jews. Devout is like that adjective describing those Jews, and he dealt with the ones who already knew they were Israelites. That's who Peter dealt with. Peter didn't go on the missionaries that Paul went on. All right. The reason why Paul went on the missionaries is because he was trying to reach out to the Gentiles. All right. We're pretty much Hellenized Jews who were Greek-speaking Jews who took on Greek customs. Okay. Or some of them may not even known they were Israelites, because the Hellenization of the Greeks after Alexander the Great, you can read all in the 1st and 2nd Maccabees. Okay. So Peter dealt with those individuals. Peter had a certain spirit that the Lord wanted him to deal with the circumcision. So with the circumcision comes pride, man. Dealing with them, the ones who know, they think they know something, but they didn't know Yahushua, and they're kind of hard-headed. That's why we have the book of Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter. They're hard-headed. Okay? So verse 8, it says, for he that wrought effectually and Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. Exactly, meaning Paul wanted to go speak to the ones who did not know they're Israelites, did not know of Yahushai, did not know Yahushai was Hamashiach. All right, it was something that was a fire that was lit, and he was fervent to go speak to the Gentiles, and it shows right here his position. So it says again, when they opposed themselves, the Israelites, the circumcision, and blaspheme, meaning they was probably talking hot smack about Yahushai when Paul was preaching. All right, he shook his raiment, meaning what? He took his garment or whatnot, and it was like a gesture or a manner that he was doing, but ultimately it was like a spiritual thing, kind of like you can say Pilate when Yahushua had went to the cross. He had washed his hands and said to the Jews who brought Yahushua to him, hey, this man did nothing. His blood is not on my hands. And that's when they went to say, well, hit the blood on us and our children to come. So it's the same thing Paul's doing here, kind of what Pilate did. He just, shook his raiment like, man, I bet, whatever then. You see what I'm saying? And said unto them, your blood be on your own heads. All right? This is how you know he read the book of Ezekiel, the 33rd chapter. He said it. He gave him the real, straight up. He said, I am clean. So he understands that he did the work that he was supposed to do. Now, of course, this was written before Revelation, but he's clean. He would be a part of that Revelation 14:4 group right there who followed the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. All right. It says, from henceforth I will go unto the Gentiles. And that proves right here in the Galatians when he was saying the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. Right there was like, man, whatever, man. That's why I don't deal with y'all. That's why I go to the people who want to learn, who want to understand. Who's the best individuals to teach? Ones who don't know nothing or ones who admit they don't know anything. They're more ready to learn than ones who think they know something. And the Gentiles are the ones who would be more willing to take this in. That's why you have an 11th hour Israelite. That's why you have the 1/3. A lot of 1/3 out here, they may have heard of the truth, or some of them may have not even heard of it yet. And when they do, they will instantly believe, just like how us men came in. I know I can speak on my behalf with my testimony. I remember the brother Tazamah from Dallas and the brother Sha'ar from Dallas had me on three-way, and they're telling me about the truth, and I believed it instantly. There's something about the spirit of the ones who believe instantly. The Lord has a spiritual, they're spiritually gullible. They have that spirit on them. That's why it wrought so affectionately in Paul to go to the Gentiles and be like, man, whatever with y'all heathens. Okay? So it says, verse 9 here, and it says, and when James and Cephas and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace was given unto me, they gave me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship that we should go unto the heathen, which are the Gentiles, the ones who still keep customs of the heathen. That's why they call them a heathen. They go talk to the heathen to make them realize you're an Israelite. It was, I don't want to say it was easier, okay, because Paul went through some shit, man. But really, when you look into the book of Acts, every time he went through some shit, like it's spoken of in the Corinthians, it was by his own countrymen, his own brothers, his own people. And it was usually by the ones who know they're Israelites, not by the Gentiles, the ones who knew they were Israelites. That's why it was so heavy in him to be pressed in the spirit to go speak to the Gentiles. Now, when you read that, right, you can take this in another light and transfer it into today. I can't go to no IUIC member and be like, yo, Yahushua is Hamashiach. There ain't no such thing as that. Because they follow what Nate says. Even if you say, well, Nate has a whole 2-hour video of him breaking down the name of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, how can you believe that there is no name Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua and you still think it's in Christ bless or whatever they say? Those are the ones who are hard headed and hard to get, hard to get through. You see, they're not spiritually gullible. They just dummy ass gullible, just whatever. The scriptures say that the simple believeth in every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. All right, we're spiritually gullible and then continue to look into it. And to this very day, we're continuing to look into it. All right? And Christ blessed. No, man. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Barakatah. Yahushai's name must needs be preached. Okay? And a member from IUIC ain't going to get that. And that's an individual who will get irritated with you. Okay? And be hard-headed with it. Hey, there may be some ones in IUIC who may wake up and be like, you know what? This is wrong. That Yahushai is the name. There has to be a name to call on. If it ain't Jesus, then what is it? You see? There's going to be some ones who wake up to that realization and that fact that they know they're Israelite, but they're still getting lied to. You see? So again, it says your blood be on your own hands. Exactly. If you don't want to preach Yahushai, then the blood is on you, man. I told you Yahushai is the name and he is the Hamashiach, meaning the anointed one. If you don't believe, that's on you. I told you, blood off my hands now. It's on you now. All right? So that's how Paul was kind of pressed in the spirit, and the spirit was on him to go and tell these things to the Jews. Because it's like, look, I know you're an Israelite. I knew I was an Israelite, but I was persecuting the church until I found out about Yahushai. Same thing could do for you. Listen, but they don't want to. They called it. They started blaspheming, mocking the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, and that wasn't the case. Paul was like, man, that's not the case. You need Yahushai, because you remember, man, these people, some of these people who he's preaching to, probably seen Yahushai and then probably seen Yahushai on the cross and was like, man, whatever. He's just whatever. When in all actuality, Yahushai is the ticket. Yahushai is the ticket. All right? So Lord willing, this was edifying. It kind of shows you, like, why we go out to the highways and byways and preach Yahushai so heavily. And there's people who come up, stop, and listen. Those are Gentiles, ones who may not know something. Okay? I know there's some brothers who came up before they got in the truth, may have saw it on the unicorn, which is the World Wide Web. All right, may have saw it on the unicorn and saw the prophets on the street highways and was like, man, I believe. And they started believing in Yahushai. You see? So that means the blood is not on their own head no more. They realize, So that I just wanted to bring that to light. Lord willing, it was edifying. I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Chakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. Brother Kasha Qual. Until the next time, we'll say shalom.